Merry Christmas, and to all of you at home. Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about The Feast of Stephen by Terry Nation, the first Doctor Who Christmas special. As I've talked about before, this episode actually takes place within a completely different story, the Daleks' Master Plan. And the idea is that the Dalek story was really dark and there's lots of death and we had the threatening monsters, and for Christmas they thought that the audience might need some cheering up. So what they decided to do is they decided to have an episode which has nothing to do with the Dalek story. So that's how we got the Fest of Stephen. Now, there's a lot of great behind the scenes stories behind this story. For example, when they were making it, the idea was originally to have a crossover with the TV show Z-Cars, which I know nothing about, so sorry I can't go into detail about that. And another idea they had was to make it a homage to the Keystone Police. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Keystone Police the Keystone was a film company back in the 1920s and the 1910s, and they did a lot of slapstick films with Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, and in their films they would have like a group of police basically acting as sort of like the villains of their films, and there'd be a lot of slapstick and stuff. So one idea for this story was to do a story like that. And even though none of these ideas actually came in, the feeling of it, the essence of it, still remains in the aired version. Now, this one-part episode is a lost episode, and out of every Doctor Who that we have, this is the least likely one to be found, as it was only shown in the UK. Now, what they used to do is they used to have it on film reels and, ship them out, copy them to different nations so that they can show it in different countries. But with the Fest of Stephen, they thought it might distract from the bigger Dalek story. So what they did is they took this one out when they were selling the Daleks Master Plans overseas. So it became an 11-part story, and this one was only shown once. It only had one known copy of it that existed, which was destroyed. So we're never going to see this one, which is a crying shame. But yeah, that's all the backstory out of the way. Is this really bizarre, strange Christmas special any good? Let's delve into it. The TARDIS, without TARDIS team, the Doctor, Stephen and Sarah Kingdom, land on what we believe is 1960s Earth, where they're on like a small little village with these police officers that see the police box, and they're wondering how it's there. And the Doctor steps out, and he basically gets taken away, and you can definitely feel it has a much more comical edge with the police are like bumbling idiots, and that Keystone Police idea is felt throughout this part, and the crossover with Z-Cars, which was to do with police, I believe. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, there's a great bit where when they go to the police station, there's this guy who he's talking about this like mad thing about his greenhouse, and the Doctor sees him and he's like, have I met you before? Oh yes, you were a merchant in Jaffa, which is a reference to the fact that this guy played a character. The guy who plays this character also played the guy selling clothes in the Crusade. So some nice fourth wall break-in Easter egg there, if anybody is interested in that. And the Doctor gets questioned by the head of police, and it has one of the greatest lines in probably the 60s Doctor Who, where the Doctor's like, oh me, you could say I'm a citizen of the universe and a gentleman to boot. That's just a classic line, and it comes from this story. And then Stephen kind of escapes from the TARDIS, and he finds police uniform, and he dresses up like a policeman, and he basically goes and rescues the Doctor, and they go back into the TARDIS, and then they disappear, and that's the first half of the Festival of Stephen. So, very strange. It's already breaking down. It's only one episode, but it's already breaking down into two, and there's no villain or anything. But yeah, it's very strange. Also, they reference that it's Christmas at this time. So, there you go. Then the second part of it, they land in 1920s Hollywood. And when they look at the scanner, they see this woman basically being grabbed by this guy to go on a saw. And the Doctor and Stephen and Sarah go in to try and save the woman, but then it turns out they're on a film studio, and they get chased around, and the crew are like, "What are you doing, messing my film up? You're destroying my art." And then basically this part of the story is basically a run-around slapstick adventure, which brings back, like I said, the idea that this was a tribute to the Keystone films of the 1920s. Now, a lot of people might hate this, it's really slapstick, very goofy, really doesn't feel like Doctor Who. But as somebody who really likes the silent sitcoms, I absolutely had a blast with it. Like I said, this is a missing adventure, so we only got pictures at the moment, and with the dialogue. And even though the dialogue is very, very loud, there's constantly people shouting and stuff, you could just imagine the crew and all that having fun. And it's just incredible. And there's a bit where Sarah has tried to hide from a director as he's seen her in the other guy's picture, and is like, "I really want you in my film." But so she tries to hide from him, from hiding in a small box, which I find really funny. And Stephen, now dressed up as like a police uniform, gets mistaken for one of the actors, and he gets kind of like kidnapped by two of these like police, like Keystone police kind of figures. And in the loose cannon reconstruction, the animation they did to take Stephen away is absolutely hilarious. And then the Doctor gets mistaken for somebody who is like an Egyptian expert, and so he gets involved in this other film, and he asks about one of the women's clothing, about is it accurate enough, and then the Doctor's like disgusted by this, and it asks her and tells the director to put more clothes on, and it's just a lovable fun around. And when Stephen and the Doctor then meet up, Sarah Kingdom just comes out of the box, and they're all chasing, and also during this bit, I don't know if it's in the original version, but on the loose cannon anyway, they actually had like the silent movie like title cards, because years ago they didn't have dialogue obviously, so what they had is had dialogue cards where the screen would just cut to text saying maybe what the characters are saying, or maybe like a description of something. So it's like the chase is on and stuff, and you've got that silly like piano music in the background. And there's a bit which I found really awesome, is that the Doctor goes into a room and the door opens, and Charlie Chaplin, it's somebody dressed up like Charlie Chaplin, it's like the Charlie Chaplin in the story, but it's not actually like him in real life, appears. Now this is really cool for two reasons. One, I'm a huge fan of Charlie Chaplin, so to see him in Doctor Who was just, even if it's just like a small cameo, was really, really cool. And if this is 1920s, it must have been around when he was making The Kid, so that's pretty cool. Although it would be noted that if this is 1920, he should be like owning his own film studio, so he shouldn't be there with all these other film productions. But I digress. And then you've got, and also as well, William Hartnell actually credited Charlie Chaplin as his inspiration on becoming an actor. and he has stated many times that like it's Charlie Chaplin's performance that made him want to become an actor for the screen. So I think he was really chuffed to do that, to have a cameo with Charlie Chaplin. Very true. It's also weird to note that Charlie Chaplin was alive when this aired. So I wonder if he ever saw it. Oh no, he'd be in America or Switzerland, wouldn't he? Oh, that's a shame. Oh well. But anyway, and then they all like the camera crew and the doctor and stuff are all beaten up, and there's all this chase and stuff. Whilst this going on, the doctor, whilst everyone's distracted, kind of goes to the TARDIS, and somebody's like waiting out in this like weird silly costume, and he's like moping to himself that like there's no new ideas and like there's no new jokes anymore, and the doctor's like that's a joke on its own, and they're giggling about it. And then this guy reveals that he's Bing Crosby. Now Bing Crosby was a big star in the 20s and 30s for his acting, for his singing, for his dancing, for his comedy stand-up. He was basically just like a every talent sort of guy. But yeah, and then the Doctor and Shara and Stephen leave, and then they're all fascinated by the fact that the TARDIS disappears, and they're all like surprised. And then this is the bit that really like I'm watching. Like, what the hell am I? I literally like stare at the TV and was like, what the hell am I watching? William Hartnell plays the guy who got the Doctor was mistaken for, and he just sort of like appears, and you see the Doctor like William Hartnell dressed up like someone else, and that's just weird. And he's like, what the hell's going on? So then that's very weird. And then we cut back into the TARDIS, and the Doctor's getting like drinks for Sarah and Stephen, and he's basically is like, we need to celebrate because it's Christmas, because he remembers that in the police station it was Christmas time. And then what we get is that famous scene where he breaks the fourth wall, he turns to the camera, and he basically congratulates everybody in your house. Merry Christmas. I think because of that, a lot of people actually consider this non-canonical. So, yeah, pretty funny. Also, before I finish up with the story as well, there's a really I don't want to say cringy, because cringy makes me cringe. So, but anyway, where just before the Doctor leaves, he's like, we need to get away from here. This place is full of Arabs. Hooray! The Doctor's a racist. Oh god, that didn't age well. I kind of had to point that out, and it's really, it's what a terrible line. But yeah, but apart from that, So anyway, that's the Festival of Stephen, this little one-part story that takes place in between one of the most grandest Dalek stories of all time. So what did I think about it? It's absolutely terrible. I don't think it's terribly written. I don't think anyone is arguing that it isn't. And yeah, but however, as somebody who really likes 1920s like Hollywood and stuff, I do have a soft spot for the second half and having all these like movie star cameos in it. I know it's a very selfish thing to like something, and it's that's not an excuse for quality, but I do find myself enjoying it from time to time. So that's the Festival of Stephen. Oh, I forgot to mention, the Daleks Master Plan Part 1, I made this cover, and I don't know if you can see it. It actually says the first Christmas special, and I gave the Who a Christmas hat, because it's Christmas. But anyway, yeah, Festival of Stephen, it's just, I don't know, you either cringe or you love it. And I gotta say, I'm kind of both. Yeah, so that's the Festival of Stevens. So join me next time where we get back into our Dalek epicness and we completely forget about this. So see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon.